Hello, good morning, and welcome to Cooking with Cleo. Today is Father's Day, and in a tradition in our house on Father's Day is to make Nathan biscuits and gravy. So that's what we're gonna do, right, Cleo? She's over here, you can't see her, but she's coming over because she knows what we're doing. Come here. Can you say hi? Hi. All right, so we're gonna get started. Okay, so the key to making good biscuits is having extremely cold butter, preferably frozen, and having extremely cold milk. So we're not going to pull out those ingredients quite yet, but we do have the rest of our ingredients out. We are going to need 2 cups of flour. We're going to need a tablespoon of sugar, a teaspoon of salt, a tablespoon of baking powder. We'll need 6 tablespoons of butter and 3/4 cup of milk, okay? Now this makes about 12 biscuits, so you can double it. It doubles really well, or you can half it and it halves really well as well. So yeah, preheat your oven to 425 so that when your biscuits are done, you can pop them right in. All right, so let's get started. So we're going to go ahead and put our flour in this bowl. Oh, my husband always leaves freaking spoons in the flour. It kind of drives me nuts. And once we're done with the flour, we can also leave this out because we'll be using it for the biscuits and gravy sauce, the gravy part. Okay. And then we need a tablespoon of baking powder. When I first made this recipe, I thought, wow, that sounds like way too much, but it really works pretty well. And this is a ½ tablespoon measure, so that's why I'm doing it twice, but you just need 1 tablespoon. And then we need a tablespoon of sugar. Sometimes when I make biscuits, I do like half whole wheat flour, half all-purpose flour, but since today's a special occasion, we're not going to do that. We're just going to have the unhealthiness and enjoy it. I don't know why all my like whole teaspoons and tablespoons are gone, so I just have halves. So this is a ½ teaspoon. Put it in twice for a whole teaspoon of salt. And now we are ready. I'm going to add like just a pinch of baking powder back into this just because I think Cleo grabbed some of the baking powder and put it on the ground instead of in the bowl. So that was very helpful, Cleo. Yeah. Oh yeah, she says you're welcome. Okay, so now let's go ahead and grab that butter and milk. We're gonna put the butter in first and then do the milk. So we just need 6 tablespoons of this. So keep that in mind. It's not gonna be a whole stick of butter because a whole stick of butter is 8 tablespoons. So I'm gonna unwrap it. Okay, and I'll keep just a little bit on it as a place to hold it and as a mental way to tell myself to stop here. And then I'm going to grab my bowl and I'm going to grate the butter straight into the flour mixture. Okay. So if you don't have a cheese grater, you could also use a knife and just cut it into small cubes. You're going to cut as small as you can with those cubes because it'll be easier to incorporate it. Or if you have a food processor, it goes a little faster than grating. I just don't like cleaning my food processor, so I only use it when I absolutely need it. I do love food processors though. They can make your job really great and easy. So this is what we have in our bowl. We've got little shreds of butter, and we're going to just take our fingers and put it in the bowl and just kind of incorporate the butter just a little bit. Okay, so we're not going to go too hard on this, just a little incorporation of that butter until it kind of looks like we just have kind of lumpy flour. So you can see that. incorporation there. Okay, now let's grab our milk. So yes, I'm using a dry measuring cup. I have not found that it makes a big difference when you use dry measuring cups versus wet measuring cups for things. I know some people are really just, they cannot do it. It makes them like really, I don't even know. But I don't think it matters. It really isn't that big of a deal. And it would be a big deal if we were like taking this recipe for a catering order and multiplying it by like 50 to get a giant thing of biscuits. Then yeah, it matters a little bit. But at that point, you're going to want to go by weight anyways to make sure you get it right. Okay. So turn the dough out. It's going to be kind of clumpy and lumpy. Let me move the camera so you can see this a little bit better. Okay. So we are just going to knead it a couple times to make it one solid piece of dough. So the way I knead it, I just fold it into itself, and then I just do that on all the sides until it's kind of a cohesive thing. Now, the way we get flaky biscuits is by folding it in. So we're gonna push it out. One of the things about biscuits that you don't want to do is use a rolling pin. It kind of destroys the flakiness. We're gonna fold it into itself again and then pat back out. And we're just gonna keep folding and patting out. You're gonna get these like layers in here, and it's gonna make the biscuits feel even more flaky. Here, wanna help Mama? Okay, so I have pressed it into about 3/4 of an inch here, and I have a cookie cutter. If you don't have a cookie cutter, you could use the top of a glass to cut out your shapes. Just be aware that glass rims might be a little bit bigger, so you might get less biscuits in the end. Okay, so I'm going to take this. I'm making it a heart shape because we love Nathan so much. Okay, and we're going to push. Isn't that cool, Cleo? Now, once again, I'm just going to show you how you can see the layers in this biscuit, right? Okay, now we'll probably get 3 out of this, and then we're gonna have to reincorporate it and refold it. So here we have it. We have 6 cute little biscuits. Our oven is ready, so we're going to put it in the oven, and we're going to set a timer for 12 minutes. Alexa, set a timer for 12 minutes.
12 minutes, starting now.
Quickly clean up your area, and then we're going to start the gravy. Okay, so for the bechamel, I like using a pan that's got pretty tall sides on. And we're going to go ahead and start by heating the pan up. We've got some hot sausage that we're going to put into the gravy. I'm going to cut about half an onion. You don't have to do the onion. Traditionally, it would look more like sausage, milk, seasonings. That's pretty much what we're doing, but I like kind of zhuzhing it up, and it changes the flavor a bit, which is fun, and I just think it turns out a little bit better. So just cut your onion to be a small dice if you're going to do it my way. So just a quick note about this as I cut this onion. So I keep interchanging the word gravy and bechamel. So we are making a bechamel sauce essentially and turning it into a gravy. Traditionally, a bechamel is just milk, flour, butter, and some spices. Typically it comes in a sachet, and you've got like clove and peppercorn and stuff like that. So basically I'm trying to show you how to make a bechamel while also making the biscuits and gravy. And we're going to take some of our butter from earlier. I'm not going to add a lot of butter, maybe like half a teaspoon of butter to saute these onions. I don't think we need any more because we're going to get a lot of fat from the sausage cooking as well. I want to do a video about real bechamel sauce, but today is kind of a variation of bechamel because we're using milk and we're thickening it with a roux. And a roux is basically just flour and fat, usually butter, and you put it together, and it's very, very good. It just thickens things. It's not good in taste-wise, but it's good in its job. It does a really good job in thickening things. You use roux to thicken sauces, soups, all sorts of things. So yeah, we'll learn about roux today a little bit. So let that butter melt down a little bit more. All right, add those onions in. We want to hear a bit of a sizzle, and I don't hear a sizzle. That means I was impatient. But that's okay. It'll heat up. Just make sure that when it does heat up, you're not getting burned spots, because that's sometimes a problem if you're impatient like me. Alright, so we're getting a little bit of browning. We don't really want that. But most of our onions are pretty much translucent at this. So now we're going to add our sausage in. Go ahead, add the whole thing. Or if you're like, ooh, that's a lot, you can only add half. Whatever makes you happy. We're going to break it up with our spoon. And once it's kind of broken down a little bit, we can just let it sit for a moment in our pan. Make sure to check on your biscuits. If your timer's gone off, don't forget about them. So we can see when we're looking down at this, there are natural pockets of fat in here. And that is what we're going to use to make our roux. I think there's enough fat to warrant not adding any extra to this pan. So let's go ahead and do that. So roux, roux traditionally, you would take butter, melt it in a pan, and then you'd put some flour in till it's the consistency of peanut butter about. And then you'd go ahead and you can make different levels of roux. So there's like white roux, brown roux, dark roux, and black roux. And they're all used for various different sauces and techniques. So most of the time we're going to be working with brown roux or white roux. In a bechamel, you're working with a white roux. So that just means you're not going to like cook it for a bit. You're not going to brown the butter. With biscuits and gravy, everything's kind of already brown. So we're going to go ahead and add 2 heaping tablespoons of flour in here. Okay, so add that to your pan. And then we're going to just incorporate it, and it's going to adhere to the fat. If you want to, you can go a little longer on your sausage and get some more Maillard reactions going on. It's really good when you do that, but it's also not necessary. So it looks a little funny now because our flour is all over the place. And we're going to go ahead and add our milk. So we're going to add quite a bit of milk here. This is 1 cup, and you see that hardly even touches it, and we kind of want to cover it in milk. So add 2 cups. I think we're going to need 3 cups. That's kind of what I was predicting. You can use any type of milk here. I'm using 2%. Whole milk will get you a more rich, fatty flavor, which can be more desirable. I wouldn't use skim milk to make this. I wouldn't use like an almond milk or oat milk. I think it needs to be real milk, but if you try it, let me know how it turns out in the comments or something. Okay, so now we have our milk, and the flour is going to thicken the milk. We don't want the milk to come to a boil because it'll scald it and the milk will break, which is not good. But we will season this, so we're gonna add some salt. A lot of our flavor too is gonna come from the sausage. Remember, the sausage is already seasoned to be whatever type of sausage you have. So mine's hot, so we're not gonna add like some spiciness to this. Normally I'd add red pepper flakes if I was just using normal sausage. Now a quick note about this, black pepper is traditionally for a bechamel, you would wanna use white pepper because you wouldn't wanna see these black flakes. It's considered undesirable, but once this comes together, you won't even notice it. So that's something to keep in mind. So my heat is all the way up here, and I'm gonna wait till there are bubbles that are starting to form around the sides. Once again, I will emphasize, you don't want it to boil, but when we start seeing some bubbling, we know that the roux is going to start doing its job in thickening, and we're going to turn it down once we see that bubbling. So I'm on high, and we'll turn it down to like medium when that happens, and I'll show you. Okay, so we're starting to see some bubbling. So we're gonna go ahead and turn it down to like a medium low. And we're gonna just let this cook, stirring occasionally. You'll come and you'll start to see the milk thicken, and I'll point out when that happens as well. And I'm looking now and I'm thinking about the fat content. So this orange is the fat from the sausage. So maybe in the future I would have added a little bit more flour to it so that it's more bound and it's not going to be as fatty on the top. However, at this point I couldn't really add flour to it. I mean, I could, but it might just get a floury taste if you do that. So you could try it or you could leave it. Oh, we're seeing some good thickening up happening here. This is great. So when you're making a sauce like this, you're looking for a thick nappe, which means basically when you put your finger down the spoon, it's not going to move either direction. So we're at a medium nappe here. We want it to be a little bit thicker. So just keep chugging along. Go ahead and give it a taste at this point too, and adjust your seasonings. I tasted it midway through and added more black pepper and salt. So we're going to taste it again and see if it needs anything else. Remember, our goal when seasoning this is to taste it and immediately want to take another bite. If you taste it and you feel like, wow, something is missing here, we're going to want to adjust for that. So I think the salt level is good. It could use more black pepper. It is pretty spicy though, so I'm not going to add a lot more black pepper. And I think it needs something to kind of brighten the flavor. And brightening the flavor can come from a more acidic tone. You want to be careful with acid though and bechamel, because it can curdle the milk if you go a little too far on this. So I'm just going to add just a tiny bit of lemon juice and see what that does for the flavor. So just a little bit here. And that should brighten the flavor a little bit. We're very close here. We do want it to be thicker. If you're like, girl, I'm hungry, I don't want to wait for it to be thicker, you can add a cornstarch slurry, and that thickens a lot quicker than a roux would. Okay, so let's taste it again. Yeah, that's just what I needed. So it brightened that flavor a bit. It kind of toned down the spice even. Because the flavor's been brightened, we have that fattiness. I actually think now that that's added, we could add some more salt to it. And one of the things is when you're using a roux, you really should let it simmer for about 30 minutes to get rid of a raw flour taste. And I definitely taste that raw flour here. My husband thinks I'm crazy and he's like, I cannot taste it. I don't know what you're talking about. But I can. And so, you know, if you're tasting that raw flour, go ahead and keep simmering it. Just make sure to turn it down on low because we don't want it to boil. Another thing to save time in the morning, you can prep the biscuits the day before, because I don't think the biscuits need to be warm in order for this dish to be good. This dish is really all about this gravy. You know, the biscuits are just a vessel. So once you reach that thick nappe, you can go ahead and plate. This is what it would look like at the end. We've got our nice golden brown biscuits with the gravy in the middle. But honestly, normally if I'm not just taking a picture of it, I just open the biscuits up and shove all gravy all over at the top. So enjoy your biscuits and gravy.